Have you ever noticed that when someone calls you on the phone, you immediately form a mental picture of the person? You get not only a mental picture of his face and figure, or hers, but a feeling with regard to his or her personality. And that feeling you get is either good or bad. That is, the person affects you either pleasantly or unpleasantly. There's hardly ever a perfectly neutral feeling. It's either favorable or unfavorable. And to carry it a step further, you project a picture in the minds of the people with whom you come in contact. And again, whether it's on the phone or in person, that picture is either favorable or unfavorable. You're projecting these pictures all day long to your children, your marriage partner, the people who serve you, your associates, your boss, everyone, all day, every day. So how's your picture? How do you appear to people passing by on the street? Do you appear happy, unhappy, bored, disinterested, worried, successful, or unsuccessful? The picture you project, the way in which you communicate to every person you come in contact with during the day, is a reflection of your total personality. The picture you project is determined by how you feel inside. The people who project the best pictures are those who know how to be grateful. Their gratitude for what they have, for what they are, kind of radiates about them. They don't worry about what's missing, but are grateful for what's there. They don't concentrate on the shortcomings of their marriage partner or their children. They're grateful just to have them. They look upon problems as things to be solved and are grateful for the capacity and wisdom to overcome them. These are the people who run deep. More than any other factor, gratitude projects the kind of picture that is irresistible. It attracts men, women, dogs, and cats. It also attracts a condition mistakenly called good luck. These people are easy to recognize. There's a calm, sort of level look to their eyes, and smiling comes as naturally to them as breathing. They don't complain about what's to be done. They simply do it, and do it well, and then start looking around for something else to do. They radiate ability and good cheer like an old-fashioned stove radiates heat on a cold morning. They project a great picture, and the world projects it back to them. Every minute of every waking hour of every day of your life, you're projecting a picture of yourself and your personality, and you can tell how it looks to the world by looking at what you're getting back. Human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. In trying to describe the attitude that's worked so well for me over the years, I found myself using two important words: gratitude and expectant. First, I'm grateful for the opportunity to live on this beautiful and astonishing planet Earth. I wake up with a sense of gratitude in the morning. Secondly, I expect the best. I expect to reach the goals I establish for myself. I find the idea of fulfilling those goals agreeable, hence the attitude of expectancy. I know the world will give me back what I put out in the way of attitude, so it's up to me. I'm responsible. There are millions of human beings living narrow, darkened, frustrated lives, living defensively simply because they take a defensive, doubtful attitude toward themselves and, as a result, toward life in general. A person with a poor attitude becomes a magnet for unpleasant experiences. When those experiences come, as they must because of his attitude, they tend to reinforce his poor attitude, thereby bringing more problems and so on. The person becomes an example of self-generating, doom-fulfilling prophecy. And it's all a matter, believe it or not, of attitude. We get what we expect, and our outlook on life is a kind of paintbrush, and with it we paint our world. It can be bright and filled with hope and satisfaction, or it can be dark and gloomy. Successful people come in all sizes, shapes, ages, and colors, and in widely varying degrees of intelligence and education. But they have one thing in common. They expect more good out of life than bad. They expect to succeed more often than they fail. And they do.
Listen to Emerson. Write in on your heart that every day is the best day in the year. No man has earned anything rightly until he knows that every day is doomsday. Today is a king in disguise. Today always looks mean to the thoughtless in the face of a uniform experience that all good and great and happy actions are made up precisely of these blank todays. Let us not be deceived. let us unmask the king as he passes. If we could only get out of bed each morning realizing that today is a day not unlike those on which the greatest and most exciting events of history have taken place, that today represents another opportunity on the road to whatever greatness it is we seek, and that finally today will take its place as a single tile in the mosaic of our finished life, to either add to its beauty and harmony or detract from it, or lose itself in a dull gray background of an uninteresting, unchallenged, undedicated existence. I particularly liked Emerson's admonition to know that today could be the last, which makes it important, and that today is a king in disguise. Let us not be deceived. Let us unmask the king as he passes. And above all, don't be frightened about tomorrow, but concern yourself with the eternal present.
Among the writings of Henry David Thoreau, I came across this statement. Many an object is not seen, though it falls within the range of our visual ray, because it does not come within the range of our intellectual ray. In other words, there are many things that exist in our world that we don't see because we're not looking for them or perhaps even capable of looking for them. So in the largest sense, the world we see is only the world we look for. Show two people the same picture and each will see a different scene. Each will extract from what he sees that which he happens to be predisposed to look for. Different people looking out of a train window as they pass through the outskirts of a city will see the same thing from entirely different viewpoints. One will see a depressing, run-down neighborhood. Another will see an ideal plant site. Still another might see a marvelous opportunity for real estate development. The passing scene might give someone else an idea for a story or a song or a poem. Another, his face buried in a magazine, will see nothing. The world presents to each of us every day that which we seek. There's not a neighborhood or area that doesn't offer abundant opportunity to every person there. That opportunity is limited only by the viewpoint of the inhabitant. Some years ago, a Wisconsin farmer was stricken with polio and left paralyzed in an iron lung. Flat on his back, unable to farm his land, he was forced to push back his intellectual horizon. He was forced to think creatively, to take mental inventory of his assets and liabilities. Without moving from his bed, he built one of the country's largest and most successful meatpacking companies. Unable to use his hands and feet, he was forced to use his most precious, his most priceless possession, his mind, and he found his farm contained all the riches he and his family would ever need. Where before there was only a farm, now there are great packing plants employing thousands. I'm sure that when his friends and neighbors learned of his affliction, they wondered how he would manage to operate his farm and care for his family. He simply looked at the farm with new eyes. He saw what he had failed to see before, even though nothing had changed except his own mobility. Every one of us lives in a kind of iron lung of his own fashioning. Each one of us has opportunities just as great as that Wisconsin farmer's. But few of us are forced to reach so far into the deep reservoirs of ability within us, and fewer still know the joy and excitement and never-ending interest that can be found in our daily lives when we learn to look at our world as Thoreau looked at his. Surrounded by miracles and limitless opportunity, some people manage to find only boredom and insecurity. As Thoreau said, we find only the world we look for. One time when I was in New York City, my plane was canceled because of mechanical difficulties. More than 100 of us, I suppose, were now left to scramble for another flight to our destinations on a busy, crowded afternoon. I went back to the counter, and a woman told me there was another flight in just an hour. "But won't that be filled?" I asked. "Well, maybe not," she said. I thought of all the people who had been canceled out on my flight, fighting for seats on the next one, which was already probably completely booked, and I toyed with the idea of staying overnight and making a new reservation for the following morning. "Why don't you try it?" she said. The thought of standing around the airport for another hour only to be turned away from a full flight was very unappealing. "Do you think there's any hope at all?" I asked. "Try it," she said. So I tried it, and I wound up with a window seat up front and was only an hour late arriving at my destination. If I hadn't tried it, I would have had to taxi all the way back into the city, register at a hotel, spend the night, and repeat the whole process the next day. I'd been saved all that by a woman who suggested that I try it, and I resolved to stop giving up so easily, to keep my expectations alive, to expect more. This is a small example, but we should never lose sight of the undeniable fact that there is a very thin line, if any at all, between what we expect from life and what we get. If we're not getting what we'd like, maybe it's because our expectations are too low. Maybe we're suffering from the poverty of expectation. Your life will come pretty close to matching your expectations. It can easily exceed them. Higher expectations keep us trying. They keep us pressing upon ourselves. They keep us from giving up. When I was a kid, I remember hearing the words, "If you don't expect much, you won't be disappointed when you don't get much." But that's just the problem. If you don't expect much, you're ruling out the chance of winning. The world is full of people who don't have much because they don't expect much. They're not trying for more, so how in the world are they going to get more? We should never be concerned about the opportunities we've missed in the past. There's no way on earth to make the most of every opportunity. It's almost never too late, and there will be just as many good opportunities in the future as there have been in the past. No one is without hope. Every person has expectations of some kind. But just as we tend to underestimate ourselves, we therefore expect too little. We have expectations, but are they high enough? As Goethe put it, in all things it is better to hope than to despair. It might be a good idea to take inventory of our expectations. Maybe we could use a new shipment. We become what we habitually think about. Now there are things you want, worthwhile things. Take the attitude that there are a lot more reasons why you can reach those goals than fail in the attempt. Go after them, work at it, keep your attitude positive, cheerful, and expectant, and you'll get them. And as you do, you'll grow to new plateaus and be able to accomplish still more. And remember this, our environment, the world in which we find ourselves living and working, is a mirror of our attitudes and expectations. If we feel that our environment could stand some improvement, we can bring about that change for the better by improving our attitude. The world plays no favorites. It's impersonal. It doesn't care who succeeds or who fails, nor does it care if we change. Our attitude toward life doesn't affect the world and the people in it nearly so much as it affects us. It would be impossible to even estimate the number of jobs that have been lost, promotions or good grades missed, sales lost, or marriages ruined by poor attitudes. But you can number in the millions the jobs which are held but hated, the marriages which are tolerated but unhappy, the parents and children who fail to understand and love one another, all because of people who are waiting for the world and others to change toward them. They don't understand that what they're getting is a reflection of themselves. Nothing can change until we do. When we change, our worlds will change. The answer is attitude. How does one develop a good attitude? The same way one develops any other factor, practice. One good way is to stick a small sign on the bathroom mirror on which is printed the word attitude. That way you'll see it first thing every morning. You might have another one in your car and at your place of work. We need to smile more, speak to people, go out to people. Everything in the world we want to do or get done, we must do with and through people. Every dollar we will ever earn must come from people. Everything worthwhile, the person we love and with whom we want to spend the rest of our life, is a human being with whom we must interact. Our children are individuals, each different from any other person who ever lived. And what affects them most is our attitude, the loving kindness they see and feel whenever we're around them. If you begin to develop and hold an attitude that says yes to life and the world, you'll be astonished at the changes you'll see. But let me prove my point by giving you a test. If you will conscientiously go about the test I'll outline and concentrate on it every day, you will find yourself becoming lucky, as the uninitiated call it. All sorts of wonderful things will begin happening in your life, and it'll show you what a great attitude can mean. So here's the test. Treat every person with whom you come in contact as the most important person on earth. Now, you do that for three excellent reasons. One, as far as every person is concerned, he or she is the most important person on earth. Two, because that's the way human beings ought to treat each other. And three, by treating everyone this way, we begin to form an important habit. There's nothing in the world that men, women, and children want and need more than self-esteem, the feeling that they're important, that they're recognized, that they're needed, that they count and are respected. They will give their love, their respect, and their business to the person who fills this need, even if it's a short encounter. Have you ever noticed that the higher you go in any organization of value, the nicer the people seem to become? It works this way. The bigger the people, the easier it is to talk to them, to get along with them, and work with them. So they naturally matriculate to the top. It's their attitudes. And the people with great attitudes just naturally gravitate to the top of whatever business or department they're in. They don't have great attitudes because of their positions. They have their positions largely because of their great attitudes. For the purposes of this test, act toward others in exactly the same manner that you want them to act toward you. Treat the members of your family as the very important people they really are, the most important in the world. Carry out into the world each morning the kind of attitude you'd have if you were the most successful person on earth. Notice how quickly it develops into a habit. And almost immediately a change will be noticed. Irritations that used to frustrate you begin to disappear. When some less informed person gives you a bad time, don't let his poor attitude infect yours. Keep yours in hand, keep it good, keep cool, above it all, and smiling. If someone cuts in front of your car or acts in any other manner that shows a lack of courtesy, don't react as he would. Smile it off. Destructive emotions such as anger, hatred, or jealousy don't hurt others. They hurt you. They can make your life miserable. They can make you sick. Forgive everyone who ever hurt you. Really forgive them. And then forgive yourself. That's all past. Stewing over it, exhuming it, can only make you sick. Forgive and forget it. Get rid of it. You've risen above that sort of thing. And as you develop a great attitude, you'll probably realize that you've already placed yourself on the road to what you seek. You're well on your way. It makes no difference how successful you may have been in the past. You'll be delighted with the ease and comfort of your new life. A great attitude does much more than turn on the lights in our worlds. It seems to magically connect us to all sorts of serendipitous opportunities that were somehow absent before the change. Maybe that's what people mean when they say we're lucky. Suddenly we do find ourselves getting the so-called breaks, but it's really nothing more than this new connection with the world that comes with a great attitude. We find ourselves doing more and doing it in less time. We put ourselves directly in the path of all kinds of serendipitous happenings. When you begin to develop a better attitude, you should realize that you've already placed yourself in the top 5% of the people, the most successful people on earth. You've placed yourself on the road to what you seek. You've prepared the ground. You've only to plant the seed. Now, in summing up, here are a few points to keep in mind. First, it's our attitude at the beginning of a difficult task which, more than anything else, will bring about its successful outcome. Secondly, our attitudes toward others determine their attitudes toward us. We're all interdependent. The success we achieve in life will depend largely on how well we relate to others. Thirdly, before you can achieve the kind of life you want, you must think, act, talk, and conduct yourself in all of your affairs as would the person you wish to become. Keep a mental picture of that person before you as often as you can during the day. And fourthly, remember that the higher you go in any organization of value, the better the attitudes you'll find, and that attitudes are not the result of success. Success is the result of great attitudes. And finally, the deepest craving of the human being is for recognition and self-esteem, to be needed, to feel important, to be recognized and appreciated. That includes our loved ones and all the people with whom we come in contact during our days. To make these important principles a habit-knit part of our lives, here are some suggestions. Since our minds can hold only one thought at a time, make the thoughts you hold constructive and positive. Look for the best in people and ideas. Be constantly alert for new ideas you can put to use in your life. Don't waste time talking about your problems to people who can't solve them, or your health unless it's good, or you're talking to your doctor. It won't help you. It cannot help others. Radiate the attitude of well-being and confidence, the attitude of the person who knows where he or she's going. You'll find all sorts of good things happening to you. And lastly, treat everyone with whom you come in contact as the most important person on earth. Start this habit, practice it consistently, and you'll do it and benefit from it for the rest of your life.